Hello, everybody. I know it has been a few months, I guess you could say, but I'm back and I'm going to be making just a fun video today. It's my presidential tier list. Now, I don't know every little fact about every little president. I took AP US history, but I'm by no means an expert on it. I'm just going to be giving my view on all the presidents. Now, I'm not going to be ranking any of the presidents from, um, if he's on here, George Bush to, I guess, Joe Biden at this point, or Donald Trump, who was the current president out of all of these at the moment. But I will be trying to rank all of the previous 42 presidents, or 41 technically, with Grover Cleveland serving twice. Okay, so let's get right to it. So I'm going to try and, I don't know. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try and do it. So I guess we'll start off with the F tier presidents in my mind. So the first F tier president I would say is James Buchanan. Now this is pretty common, and and what we're gonna have is at the end over here that will be the worst out of all the F tiers and the worst out of all the D's and C's and B's and A's and S's. For superior, obviously, James Buchanan could be the worst president in U.S. history. There could be one up for competition with him. He pretty much was a major cause of the Civil War. He didn't do anything to stop it, especially when states seceded during his watch, and he didn't do anything about it. That's why his successor, much better president, and we'll get to him. But also, the another whatever it is, F tier is Andrew Johnson, and I would say he's even worse than Buchanan. He did a terrible job in Reconstruction after Lincoln's assassination. He was a Democrat. He basically reinstituted the Jim Crow policies in the South. Reconstruction essentially ended under him. He was almost removed from office by one vote in the Senate. They got 66 votes, which was pretty crazy because of how bad a job he was doing, and the Republicans had control of everything. Uh, he's the worst. I mean, he almost prevented the country from reuniting, which Abraham Lincoln set up, and Abraham Lincoln built that foundation from the war before. Now, there are still a few more F tier presidents that I'd like to get to. Well, obviously, William Henry Harrison. I'm actually not going to include him in this because William Henry Harrison, you can't really say much about him, so he can't be an F because F tiers have to actually do something negatively. Um, all right, let's see. Another F tier. There's got to be more than just these. Um, I would say that I would say that Jimmy Carter is an F tier. He's not the worst F tier, but he was a pretty bad. I mean, he was a pretty bad president. He was responsible for the insanely high oil and gas prices during the 1970s. He's very famous for his "We have a crisis that strikes at the heart and soul of the nation" speech, and that didn't bode well with many Americans, obviously, with Reagan's election, but severe economic downturns under his administration. When you look at OPEC, when you look at a lot of things. So I really can't see him anything other than F. I mean, he did a pretty bad job in the 4 years he had. But anyway, let's continue. So I think I'm actually F. I think should be a pretty elite group of people that were terrible. So I'm not going to include anyone else in F, but I'm going to include Harrison in D because he didn't do anything. He's not the worst D, but he was just there for a month. He didn't do anything. I'm also going to include. Let's see, where's that guy? Where is his successor? Mm, where is it, John Tyler? Where is this guy? There he is. He'll also go there. He really didn't do much either, uh, and I don't really know what he did either, so he'll go there as well. Let's see. Anybody else for the D category? Um, Herbert Hoover will go in the D category. Obviously, Hoover with the economic recession, with the I think he called in the military to get out, or he called in people to remove the protest. I'm going to just actually put Obama and Trump at the back. But with the protesters in Washington, D.C., and with the obviously the recession, all bad things, and Hoover will not go down as a good president. Also, Franklin Pierce. I'll put him in the F category. I'm sorry, I forgot about him. Same reason as Buchanan. He was just terrible. Zachary Taylor will go in the D category. He wasn't as bad as Pierce, but he did not really do much to address the issues at that time. Um. Anyway, let's continue. All right, I'm gonna do some of the best presidents in U.S. history now because we've gone through some pretty bad ones. So let's do Abraham Lincoln, who is in the S tier. Obviously, won the Civil War for the North, freed the slaves, signed the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, signed the Emancipation Proclamation, um, started the basis for Reconstruction, and kept the United States together, which was probably in the most divisions it had ever been in history, probably even up until this date, and that says a lot about where we're at now. Um, but yeah, he did a spectacular job in that. Another S tier president would be, let's take a look. Where's my guy? George Washington will be an S tier president. I think Lincoln's the best, so I'm going to leave Lincoln at the front, but Washington set numbers of precedents. He won the revolution. That's a lot of credit. He was a great president. He's a great man. He stayed for 2 terms in office, and he very well could have been there for life, although he didn't live much longer after he left. Um, but he did set a number of precedents with State of the Union letters and whatnot. 2 terms, many things, cabinets with his cabinet, and he managed to keep the United States America a strong country just after the revolution, where tensions were starting to die down. Um, I would say there is another S tier president. I would say that is T.J. Thomas Jefferson. Louisiana Purchase was probably one of the greatest purchases in American history. Vast amounts of land. He did a great job with that. And he did some things during his presidency that really were against his own ideals, but in the end they worked out pretty good for the country with the Louisiana Purchase. Also with the War of 1812, that was kind of under him, kind of not. But he did help with he did help set up for that, and then that actually did help for the United States for gaining of lands. Obviously, that wasn't under his administration, but under actually Madison's administration. But he did do many of things. Louisiana Purchase being number one. Okay, let's do some A tier. All right, Eisenhower will be an A tier. Now it's gonna be hard to organize the A tiers because they're all pretty good with the A tiers. Eisenhower, really good president. He was a good general. He helped during the Cold War for the U.S. This was just after Truman lost. He also did a very good transition to the Kennedy administration. After Truman didn't have a good transition to his administration, he really wanted to do better with the transition. So that was well respected of him, and he was a good general. He led the United States through the Cold War, and he did a great job. I didn't really have much to say for him. Harry Truman. Harry Truman, now becoming probably more of a contested contender, is a good president or not, because of whatever. He bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In the end, I think that was probably the best move at the time. When you look at the historical context, there wasn't much the U.S. could do to stop Japan, and Japan was a threat, serious threat to not only the U.S. but the world, and for peace. And Truman made that decision, and that's why he's in the A tier mostly, because he made a good decision. And he ended the war, and he was an opponent of obviously the Soviet Union as well, and that puts him in high ranks, I guess. Okay. There's still a few more A tier presidents. Now let's see. Another A tier president will be JFK. I'm gonna put him here. And actually, it's kind of funny. They're all 3 of them in a row. JFK with the Bay of Pigs incident. He did good with that. The Cuban Missile Truck crisis, where he essentially prevented World War III from breaking out. Could have saved the whole world. And promised to land a man on the moon. He made some bold promises, did some bold things, and he was, I would say, successful. Although he probably is one of the more overrated presidents, only being there for a bit over 2 years. But I do think he did get a lot accomplished during the 2 years and around 8 months, I think, that he had. So that's why he's in the A tier. And, he managed to inspire the country and he was a good orator. So you get points for being a good orator. Oh, also, another A tier will be Teddy Roosevelt in national parks. War, 1898, Spanish American War. Actually, that wasn't even under his administration, but he expanded U.S. lands. Obviously, he had a good foreign policy in my mind. Speak softly, carry a big stick. It kept the U.S. a pretty good power going into World War One. When after World War One, obviously, U.S. was in good shape, and Teddy Roosevelt did a good job with that. He actually was a progressive, which is a bit strange when you go back and look at it, but there you go with Teddy Roosevelt. And I'm going to put one final person. Actually, I have a few more people. There's going to be a lot of people in the A tier. James Madison founded the Constitution under the War of 1812. Overall, great president. Most of the founders are S and A tier, and also that goes for James Monroe. He wasn't really a founding father, but he was right with them in those ranks. Fifth U.S. president, did a great job. Let's see. Put Calvin Coolidge up there as well. Calvin Coolidge, obviously, 1920s, booming economy. It was an isolationist time, which probably wasn't the best foreign policy for Coolidge, but there was a very good economic policy. Um, Obviously, people would argue against Coolidge with the credit, but I think that it really was not, the recession was not caused by Coolidge, it was caused by Hoover. Coolidge deregulated, I guess you could say, uh, and he performed an isolationist policy. People could argue for or against it. I think he did a good job. Good economy, one of the best economies in U.S. history, and just a great time to be alive. In the 1920s, 30s is a different story, though. And I think that's actually, no, there's one more. James Polk is an A tier. He greatly expanded U.S. territory into the Oregon, British Oregon, I think, Texas, and a bunch of other great places. So he did do a good job expanding the U.S. And he believed in manifest destiny, and that's why we stretch from North Carolina, or Virginia, or D.C. to California today. And I think that has to be all for the A tiers. I'm trying to think if anybody else should be added. Okay, that'll be all for A tier. Okay, now B tier. But I'm going to order A tier correctly. Let's see. Let's do this. All right, in my mind, that's the best order of the A tier. You can tell me differently, I guess. Nah, JFK was better. Okay, B tier. These will probably be a few controversial picks, but who cares? Okay, first B tier, Bill Clinton. He had a great economy. Under his administration, they did a surplus for the first time in a long time under his administration, which was good for the administration, good for the country, good for the economy. He was a moderate, actually, which managed to hold a lot of the country together. The divisions were not as bad, especially during his administration. And he had a good economic policy, good foreign policy. He actually met with Kim Jong-il, like Trump did with Kim Jong-un. Obviously, it didn't turn out into success, but I can't say that his foreign policy was bad. Also, B tier, Reagan. Now, you could say Reagan's an A tier. I might move him up a different time. I'm just going to leave him in the B tier. I think he did have a good economy, but I do think that his policy towards China wasn't too good. His foreign policy was okay. His economic policy was great, and that is probably something similarities between him and Coolidge. But yeah, B tier for Reagan, at least for my thoughts at the moment. Let's see. I'll put Andrew Jackson at the B tier. I think he did a good job as president. I think he is widely hated on. Really not. The people don't understand the context. Obviously, Trail of Tears was a terrible thing, but people don't understand. He actually, was somebody went in nature. He was like a nature guy. He went hunting. He went surviving. He was good friends with a lot of the Native American tribes, and he actually felt sad when he moved them, although he did move them. But it is interesting when you look at the actual context of history because it can be perverted a bit. And I'll just put John Adams there. Founding father. Can't go wrong with them. Okay, let's go with C tiers. FDR. I don't think FDR was that good of a president. He greatly um, prolonged the Great Depression. Some economists argue from 5 to 6 years he prolonged the Great Depression. Um, Social Security at the time was a good idea. It has turned out not to be too good. But he won, or we got us into World War II, which is good. Good for him. Um, and he did a good job in that regard. So he's average. He'll stay at C. And that's probably a controversial opinion. I'm not going to do all of these presidents because there's no point in getting to them. I'll put Taft in B, only president to serve in all three branches of government, so you get credit for that. Put Woodrow Wilson in D. The guy was terrible as a president. The League of Nations was a disaster. His economic and foreign policy was terrible. And that's all I have to say for Wilson. Okay, now let's continue. Grant was a C. He was good with Reconstruction, however, his administration was famously corrupt, and he doesn't get much credit for that. Nixon was a C, lingering on D. His open China policy was not good. Obviously, Watergate scandal, but and the Vietnam War. I mean, he'll stay at C. There was a somewhat stable economy under him, stable gas prices, which, in the context, when you look at that, was important under Nixon. So I'll just give him a C. Why not? I'll do Lyndon Johnson. I'll put him at the top of the C list because of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Those were great things, but the Great Society programs, the economic program, and the Vietnam War were just brought him down greatly. The funny thing is, he actually was he was a racist, but yet he signed in the Civil Rights Act. So, he did a good thing, though. Good for him. Let's see if I want to go through any of the other ones. And I'll do Chester A. Arthur. I'll put him. He'll go at the top of the C. He'll go there. Actually, he'll go. No. He'll go. Nah. He'll go here. He signed the Pendleton Act. That was good. That required not civil service. You couldn't basically put your friends into the administration if you were their friends or whatever. Pendleton Act was that it wasn't patronage, so it wasn't like, oh, this guy gave you a big check during your campaign, you won the election. You can't make him Secretary of State now because of that. He actually has to have experience and qualities that make him suitable for the job. And I'll do Quincy Adams. I'll make him mid B because why not? I would do Van Buren. He had pretty good hair. We'll put him at top of the B because of the good hair. No, I'm just kidding. He was a okay B. I'll put him at B. And I don't want to do anymore. So I'm done. George H.W. Bush. Yeah, I can't talk about it anymore. Garfield. Yeah, Harding was okay. Garfield was nothing. Hayes was kind of bad. Cleveland was pretty good, actually. Willard Fillmore, not too good. Probably a D. And George H.W. Bush, maybe a C or a low B. And as I said, I'm not going to be doing these three because of the fact that history hasn't given them enough time to see their results and their reactions to it. And frankly, I don't really want to get political. I know it's a political channel, but I'd rather not at the moment. And I think it's just better to look back at all of the old presidents. You'll probably be able to tell a little bit where I lie with my rankings, but, I try to be fair. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I hope to be back with more videos coming soon, but this is what I thought I would do today. A little fun video where we do a tier list of the greatest presidents of U.S. history. Hope you enjoyed. Please try subscribe to my channel. I make election prediction videos, candidate evaluation videos, sometimes a little fun video like this, mostly election predictions though. And I was pretty accurate in 2020. If you look back at my Senate video, House on my website, I didn't do an actual House video, but I put it on the website. Governors, presidency, that was somewhat accurate. It wasn't as good as I'd hope it to be, and I might be working on that, but you can look back and obviously look at it on your own just to see how good I got it. I think I got a few states wrong with the presidency, like 2 or 3. Anyway, I have nothing else to say. So thank you guys so much for being here, and have a great time.